Hey guys, this is Melissa Zad for Into Boxing, and I am here at BXR on a beautiful Wednesday. Is it a Wednesday?
It's a Wednesday. Day off tomorrow.
It's a Tuesday, Dion.
Oh, fuck's sake.
That's not good. Let's restart that.
Too many punches.
So yeah, we're down at BXR on a Tuesday afternoon with Deion Jumah ahead of his Cruiserweight British Title fight, which is taking place on November 27th.
Sunday session.
Yeah, it's really exciting actually. I love Sunday boxing. It doesn't happen very often, but it's a really different, I'm sure it'll bring a different crowd. It's a different vibe. How are you feeling about it?
Good. Got good memories of Sunday shows. My last one being against Sam Hyde in Within Shore. So yeah, ready for it. I remember a lot of people, I don't know, the thing about a Sunday show, I feel like everyone's there literally for the boxing rather than the enormity of the event. Like, not as many people getting drunk and just out for the crack. People are there to watch afternoon or evening of boxing. So looking forward to it. It's quite a different show. I don't think anyone's really solidified who the main event is, but there's some good fights in there and I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Do you know what? The fact that, you know, people are there just for the boxing itself is so your speed, like just that boxing integrity, that's got Deion Jumah written all over it, in my opinion. Obviously, this is a very long-awaited fight for the British title. This has been scheduled and rescheduled, not officially, but sort of in the works for a long time. You know, you have been training so hard. You've gone from camp to camp to camp. How are you feeling physically and mentally about it?
I think, yeah, it's been a long time. So this fight between me and Mikael got scheduled a long time ago, well before the fight against Richard happened. So he's pulled out of that fight, and then I fought Richard, and then I think they wanted me to fight again. I think it was like 3 months after that. They had me scheduled in to fight Lawal. Didn't happen for whatever reason, and here we are finally. So it's not such a bad thing. Like, in the way I see it is, I suffered a loss and I've had plenty of time to correct things I was unhappy with. I've been in the gym ever since that loss. I think I was in the gym like literally like 5 days after that fight against Richard. So we've literally been ironing out the cracks that I wasn't happy with in my performance, in what I brought to the stage on that day. And we are ready, we are stronger, we are certain of the result that's going to happen on the 27th.
In terms of, obviously, you know, the fact that you're coming off of a loss, your first career loss, how has that impacted you? Because I know, you know, different people will take it in different ways, but you said you've been straight back into the gym, ironing out the creases. So what's your take on it?
I think any loss, especially if you genuinely believed you were going to win, is going to hit hard. So it hit me hard, and I had a few things to contend with. I had to ask myself those serious questions like, am I good enough? Am I as good as I think I am? Like, what needs to be done? And I acted upon everything, and here we are, much more confident, and just happy with the progress we've made. We've made those moves into making me a more improved fighter, and I think I'm going to be a better fighter now than I was when I defended the British title 2 years ago. So I'm ahead of the game right now.
That's really positive to hear, because I know obviously a lot of people would potentially take it quite negatively, and the fact that you've asked yourself the hard questions and you've come out with more psychological confidence, let's say, that's really exciting, which leads me quite nicely on to my next point, which is that you posted the other day about how your performance on the 27th is going to be the best performance that we've seen so far. Can you, without giving too much away, can you tell us sort of the things that you've been working on?
Everyone in boxing will tell you that no camp is perfect and everyone's fighting injured. I can definitely agree with those statements for every fighter. but there was a few things about myself that I was fighting with for quite a long time, a couple injuries, a couple nicks here, that I never really got sorted. So I think because of that loss, I was able to give myself time to go back and sort those things out. So a lot of it's thanks to Dan Lawrence and Philip Bow, who my strength and conditioning coaches, who've really taken time with me to go back to the beginning. And our strength training has been amazing, the best I've ever had, for sure. So yeah, just looking forward to being the fighter I know I can be, rather than having to compromise in my style, which I've had to do for many years.
Do you know what? It's really, really nice to hear this level of confidence coming from you. You're always very confident anyway, but I just feel that when two fighters approach a fight with so much confidence, which it appears that Mikael also has, it always makes for an exciting fight. And the fact that your styles are so different, I mean, you're a very evasive fighter. It's why they call you the Ghost, Southpaw. And Mikael, he's a strong puncher. You know, he's a puncher. He's obviously, well, I'm not actually 100% certain about this, but I've heard murmurings about him changing trainers, changing teams. How much stock do you put in that change?
From what I've seen, not much. I think Mikael is what he is. I haven't seen a range of different types of ability that he brings to the table. He seems to fight the same against every opponent. He seems to just want to get him out of there, and he's got a big right hand, and I don't know, like, it's worked for him this far, but he hasn't been up against the caliber of opponents that I have, and I will be the best fighter he's ever faced, so we'll see what he's like with that type of pressure. But he's coming against someone who not only thinks they can win, but knows they should be winning, and should be winning well.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second? Yeah. You know I'm Team Jumah all the way. But obviously the last time that you were up against someone with a big right hand, you had your first career loss. Obviously the levels between Richard Riakporhe and Mikael Lawal are quite different. You know, Richard's far more experienced. But how does that sit with you, and how do you plan to mitigate that?
As I said, after the first loss, it's about asking yourself those questions, and the big right hand was one of those questions. So you don't have to worry about me or what I'm seeing from that fight, and I learn from every fight I have. That fight against Richard, I've said before, was after 2 years out, and might not have been physically ready for it. So yeah, learned a lot from it, and ready to keep moving forward.
So in terms of, obviously, you know, the rest of the cruiserweight division, we've had Usyk Chamberlain post a story up in the last few days, I'm not exactly sure when, saying that he would love to face the winner of the fight between yourself and Mikael Lawal. I find it quite interesting on the one hand because, you know, many years ago, Usyk Chamberlain was saying that you're irrelevant, that he would, Usyk, you used to get on to me for asking you about Deion Jumah, but here we are now. What do you think?
100% would like that fight. Usyk, let me get Mikael out of the way, and then we can make that happen as soon as possible.
Deion Jumah, you're gonna get that fight against Usyk. We've been talking about it for a long time.
I thought he was good against Crispin Smith, to be honest. I thought it was a really good fight. Surprised me in a number of ways. Still lost the fight though. So he wants to fight me finally. Don't know if that's because he's taken a loss and needs to get his name back in there. But yeah, I'm down for that whenever he is. But I'm focused on Mikael right now, so let's get that done.
It's interesting, isn't it? You know, the question of relevancy within boxing, and how people's journeys, they kind of go through different routes, and, you know, things change. Things change ultimately. But yeah, very exciting time in the cruiserweight division. In terms of the fight against Crispin Smith, a lot of people have said, and I'm of this opinion, you know, I don't think that Usyk had the experience of rounds to face someone with Chris's sort of experience in the ring. He did fight a good fight. It was a real war. It was a real war.
It was such a war. I thought, to me, Usyk's a good boxer. And to me, that just seemed to go straight out the window with him. I don't know why. That was obviously in his game plan, and yeah, it worked for some rounds, but Chris presses you, and that's what he's good at. He's good at pressing you. He's good at fighting mid-range. He wants to get those shots off. And I just feel like Usyk had the skills to nullify all of that and make it pretty simple in doing so, but he didn't. He went with Chris, and obviously that was always going to be his downfall, to fight in such a fight like that. But good fight, entertaining, but I don't know what he was doing, what he was thinking.
I agree with you. I really feel that he fought Chris's fight and he got drawn into a war that he didn't need to get drawn into, because actually his style, he's a boxer, he's not a puncher, you know, so I just felt that he could have dealt with it differently. But I'm sure, you know, it was a great learning fight for him and a great experience. You know, the Bournemouth card was awesome. So in terms of, you know, the rest of the cruiserweight division, I've just recently seen that Ben Shalom, obviously the boxer guy, that's a good one. He is talking about approaching Jake Paul for a fight with Fidel Riley. Jake Paul, interesting phenomena. You know, YouTuber turned boxer, taking it rather seriously, doing quite all right. Yeah, I wasn't a fan at the start. I have to say, I'm warming up to him specifically.
Why? Because of what he's doing for people like Serrano? Or is it because of him and his fighting, or is it because of something else? Why are you warming to him?
I feel that when he first came on the scene, I was just like, you know what I'm like, right? I'm super snobbish about boxing, so I'm like, YouTube boxing, don't rate it, not for me, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then he actually just started to take his training super seriously, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to hold something against this dude. Yeah, he started off as a YouTuber, but now he's actually boxing to box, not just boxing for, like, you know, clout or to do some YouTube stuff. And also he's done a lot for fighters as well.
What I like about him, and I hate YouTube boxing, but what I do like about him is he's keeping these promoters in check. He's obviously taking on fighters, doing right by them, and he's keeping these promoters, keeping them honest, and that's the only thing I like. But otherwise, I fucking hate it. I hate it all. I hate it all. But if someone were to offer me, see, I stand here being, yeah, a bit of a con, because I say I hate it all, but if you offer me that type of fight with that type of money behind it, like, obviously I'm going to say, yeah, when do you want to fight? Let me know, because I'll be there. Is it bad for boxing? I don't know. I think it's bad for pros like me who've been going at it the legit route, the hard way for such a long time, and still it's hard to make serious money out of it. Bad for boxing as a whole? Probably not. It's flooding boxing with money, it's making people aware of fights. You get loads of kids who want to watch the Jake Paul fight. I guess that will lead to them also wanting to watch other fighters as well. So, I don't know, it's a weird one.
There's pros and cons, right? But I think that regardless of how much you may like or dislike YouTube boxing, you would be absolutely out of your mind to say no to a payday like that.
Of course, of course.
So in terms of that, you know, the fact that he's giving boxers the opportunity to earn that kind of money as well, you know, as I said, pros and cons. But yeah, should be an interesting one against him and Fidel Riley.
Is that going to happen?
Well, Ben Shalom is talking about approaching Jake Paul with that, and I think that that could be an interesting one, you know. Fidel is, again, someone who is not known as simply a boxer. He's someone who's done lots of different things. So
Fidel's got family who are fighters though, right? Is his dad a fighter?
I would love to answer that question.
Was his dad his trainer? I don't know. I thought his dad was his trainer and his dad grew up in fighting.
So, could be.
So I don't know. It comes down to who is the more legit fighter, and if it's Fidel, then that should work in his advantage, of course. But obviously, Jake Paul has proved on a number of occasions that it's not about that. So,
absolutely right. In terms of obviously the rest of the divisions, or more specifically the heavyweight division, there's a lot popping off there at the minute. We've got Tyson Fury facing Derek Chisora in December. It's a trilogy fight. They're facing each other after an extended period of not facing each other. Lots of people, you know, are kind of quick to be like, I don't want to see the fight. You know, it's boring. It's just a filler fight. Then we've got, obviously, you know, their promoters being like, well, look, they're very, very different and evolved fighters since the last time they faced each other. What's your take on that fight?
Horrible fight. Horrible fight.
You don't mince your words, do you, Deion?
No. Horrible fight. Will I be watching it? No. Understandably, Derek Chisora grabbed out of both hands. But horrible fight. Next question.
So in terms of obviously continuing on from that, there was talks of Tyson Fury facing Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
That didn't go through. Now Eddie Hearn is kind of saying that at the end of January, it's very likely that himself and Dillian Whyte will face each other in the ring. A fight that lots of people want to see, you know. Great fight for sort of the London British boxing scene. Is that a fight that you'd be interested in?
Anthony against Dillon? Yes, 100%. Make that fight happen. Dillon's been chasing that fight since he lost it many years ago. How many years ago is that now? Must be like 6?
Yeah.
A long time ago. But they're both at a point in their career where that fight is interesting. Do you know what I mean?
A few losses.
A few losses. Yeah. Yeah, I'd watch that fight, 100%. I'd look forward to watching that fight, see what happens.
And then obviously the fight in the heavyweight division, Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk. You know, it would be for undisputed.
Yeah.
It is the mega fight in the heavyweight division.
Mega fight of mega fights.
And
needs to happen.
It needs to happen, and a lot of people are sort of counting Usyk out, just being like, he's just too small. And you know how much I love Usyk. I love Usyk. I know how much you love Usyk, but I'm very interested to know what your take on that fight would be.
I love Usyk, but I love Tyson Fury as well. Like, the boxing IQ is ridiculous. It does come down to, in boxing, good big man beats good small man. But what about when you're an exceptionally good small man like Usyk? I don't know. If you gave me £1,000 and say you can't have the £1,000, you have to put money on it. You have to just put this money on one of the fighters. Obviously, I'd put it on Fury. I think Fury's feet and judgment of distance are a bit better than Joshua's. I think it's a totally different fight to Usyk fighting Joshua. Like, you can't compare the two. You can't compare the two. I think Joshua looks to engage in certain ways that Usyk can nullify and counter, whereas for a big man, Fury's a bit of a ghost. He's in front of you, but he's not there. He's there 1 minute, he's not there. He'll hit you a couple of times, and he's gone. Like, brilliant.
A fight I think that everyone is very much looking forward to seeing, should it happen next year. So going back to your fight, Deion, November 27th, against Mikael Lawal for the British Cruiserweight title. If you had one message for Mikael, what would that message be?
Just to train as hard as possible. I hope your training's going well, because you're going to need a good camp if you stand any chance of surviving in that ring on the 27th.
Big talk, fighting talk.
Real talk.
Real talk. Deion, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Also stay. So we're also selling some merch. I've got Deion the Ghost Jumah merch. We've got t-shirts as well. So they'll be on my Instagram. They're on my Instagram right now. You can purchase your merchandise, and got a good team of us going down to the Ali Pali on the 27th. And thank you to everyone who's purchased so far. So thank you for everyone who's purchased tickets. And see you there. Looking forward to it.
And might I just say, also the classiest merch I've ever seen. It's really lovely.
I like.
I'm going to be getting one myself to wear on the 27th. Sorry, Mikael, respect you, but I'm Team Jumah. We're looking forward to seeing your performance.
Thank you.